What is up, you guys? This is No Pilled, and today I'm very excited because it actually happens to be my first video ever on this channel. And I wanted to start off this channel reacting to this movement that I've recently come across. It's not a brand new movement or anything like that, but it's pretty new to me. I think it was about last week. I saw an interview with Michael Knowles and the leader of the Tradwife movement on TikTok, and her name is Esty Williams. And I watched the interview, and it kind of, I don't know, it gave me some weird impressions. So I wanted to look a little bit more into it. So I visited her channel, the woman who kind of represents the whole movement. I wanted to react to it today for you guys and discuss it a little bit. So let's just get right into it.
Now, is there a kind of a contradiction with being a tradwife who is very publicly a tradwife on social media? Meaning you are probably the most identifiable figure of this whole movement. But it's a movement that says women should basically be homemakers and running private life. So does it undermine the trad life to be a public Insta-celebrity trad wife?
That's interesting. I get those comments all the time, like, how are you a trad wife? You're online. And it's like, well, I guess 1950s trad wives weren't trad wives if they're using dishwashers and washing machines. If women in the 1800s weren't using those, I think as time goes on, like, life is changing and we live in an online world. And I've been using that to my advantage to really try and inspire younger women who maybe deep down have this desire to be a trad wife.
What? Okay, so this is kind of what sparked my interest was watching this. I saw a whole bunch of weird little contradictions within this interview. This girl, this woman, sorry, she's like 25 years old. She's very likable. She's a very pretty woman, very put together, and she's really eloquent in her speech. And so she caught my attention, but I wanted to look into it a little bit more because I really didn't understand what exactly this is and why it's even a movement and why it's even getting any attention at all.
Number two, my husband does not have to lift a finger when he is at home, because if he's the breadwinner and he goes out, the provider, he works long hours, and he works a very physical labor job. He's an electrician, so he does not need to come home and clean up. He doesn't need to help me cook. But there are times when he just wants to help me every now and then, and that is very welcomed, but he absolutely does not have to.
Hey, like, for sure, I don't see anything actually wrong with what she just said there. If her husband's the one working outside the house and, like she said, it's a manual labor job, then I would expect that he wouldn't have to go home and do all the cooking and all the cleaning. That's just common sense, though. That's not, I wouldn't really call that traditional. It's whoever stays at home, the one who's going to be doing the housework, and who's ever out of the house is going to be doing the work out of the house. And in my household, it kind of runs the same way. My husband works in a manual labor job. It's very physically taxing on the body. And I'm at home. It'd be kind of weird if I didn't do anything all day and I expected him to come home and cook the meals and do the laundry and the vacuuming and whatnot. But I don't see, again, like how this is. She said it's an unconventional thing that she does in her marriage. I really don't see how that's unconventional. It's totally normal.
Three, my husband gets the final say. So if I want to make a bigger purchase, and I'm not talking grocery shopping, I mean something extra, I always go to him first anyways. But if he says no and puts his foot down, then the answer is no.
Let's go back to that for a second and just take a look at what it says. The money he makes is our money, okay? But as the head of the house, he gets the final say on the big purchases and investments. Let him lead.
Even though he's bringing in the money to our family and it's our money, he does get the final say.
Okay, so I don't really see how it's your money, both of your money, if regardless, he's going to have the final say. So it doesn't really matter if he agrees with you or doesn't agree with you. He still gets the decision. So for her, it's kind of pointless to even argue with her husband on anything or even give her input, because whether or not she's on the same page as him, he's going to make the final decision. That can lead to kind of like a dictatorship in your own home. And a lot of men, unfortunately, are abusing their wives in this way financially, and the other way around too. There are women who abuse their husbands in this way. You're going to hold your money over someone else's head and say, we have to do it my way because I'm the one making all of the money, then I think that that is actually very abusive and is not very healthy for a good, solid relationship.
And five, I always make sure I am put together. This is a really big thing. I think that waking up in the morning and just staying in pajamas all day, it's not the way to go. Pull yourself together, put some makeup on, put a cute outfit on, do your hair, do something, and make yourself look a little more put together.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with not wanting to look like a bum. But what she's saying is basically you're doing it for your husband to make him happy with your looks. I mean, he kind of married you. I would assume that he was already attracted to you. Like she says she's at home cooking and cleaning, right? But for me personally, okay, and I'm speaking from experience, this is the real world that we're talking about. And everybody that I know, when they are cleaning their house and they're cooking dinner and stuff like that, they are not wearing house dresses and having their makeup fully done and their hair like curled and whatnot, looking all perfect because anybody who does heavy workload at home will tell you that they're sweating, they're getting dirty, okay? There's chemicals in the cleaning supplies that you're using. I'm not the kind of person who's going to put on a house dress because I don't want to ruin my nice clothing. That's stupid to me. So I don't know if she's just maybe not working that hard or if she's just saying that she gets ready right before her husband comes home. It's really hard to say because she doesn't actually clarify that point. And this kind of leads me into my next point. It's starting to seem a little bit kind of like a costume in a way. Like she's almost appropriating like the 1950s housewife aesthetic. And she's watched one too many classic movies or something like that. That's kind of the vibe that I get. I get a very Stepford Wives-ish vibe from her. I don't think there's anything wrong with looking put together, baking cupcakes, having a nice meal ready for your husband, having the house clean. And
Welcome back to part 2 of some conventional or unconventional things me and my husband do in our marriage. So the first one is I don't leave the house after dark by myself. This is not a control thing. This is a safety thing. I've had a couple encounters and I don't wish to have any more. Along with leaving the house, I always notify my husband when I'm going to go somewhere and when I arrive. It's safety. Why not, right? And we always share locations with each other. I really recommend the Life 360 app. It notifies you when your partner arrives or leaves, and it notifies you if their battery is low. I love it.
what? That is probably the worst advice I've ever heard anybody give in terms of relationship advice. Okay, so many things to unpack here. I don't even know where to start. She said, number one, she does not leave the house alone after dark. Okay, she's 25 years old. All right. So she does mention that these are unconventional things that she practices within her marriage. She's also promoting this lifestyle as like a positive thing. She says in the interview she wants to give a more like positive influence for young women who are looking to go into more traditional gender roles within their relationships. Anybody who lives north, even remotely north, even like anywhere north of the Canadian US border, okay, would know that in the wintertime it gets dark around like 4 p.m. I know where I live, it gets dark out super early around Christmas time and stuff, right? So if I were to follow this rule where I can't leave my house where I can't leave my house after dark, okay, I would be chained to my house for like majority of the time and not be able to leave because my husband works in the dark. He works outside, but he works at night. He brings like this huge spotlight lamp and he'll work through the night sometimes, like very late. Like he'll sometimes work till 8 or 9 p.m. And I have 3 kids. Okay. So if I'm stuck at home, just think about it. It doesn't make any sense. Second thing that she said that struck me as creepy was that she always asks her husband before she leaves the house. Okay. She always like will notify him or ask his permission or whatever, and then tell him when she gets to her destination. She also has an app where he can track her location and how much battery life she has on her phone. And if you're finding yourself at a point in your marriage where you're needing to track your spouse, either you don't trust them that they're going where they say they're going, or you're so paranoid that you're living in constant state of fear. So I don't know where she lives. And I've lived in many different places, but even in some sketchier neighborhoods in the city and stuff, I have never felt the need to ask my husband permission to leave the house. He's never felt the need to track my location or to keep me within the house after dark. I think that is insane. Unfortunately, a lot of men, especially I could see men in the red pill movement, looking at stuff like this and using this as their standard for a wife. Like, this is what we want our women to behave like. And a lot of women will mold themselves to be like that. A lot of women are like chameleons, right? And so if they see a guy that they like that has a certain standard they don't necessarily meet, they will shape themselves to fulfill that role. And a lot of men I could see using stuff like this, weaponizing it to control women. Because if you watch the full interview, which I will link down below in the description with Michael Knowles, she does say that when she met her husband, he told her that he wanted a trad wife and that she actually dropped out of college to do this. Okay, so she met a guy that she liked and she quit her career path that she was on to become this trad wife. Now here's my question. This gets to the meat of the issue. What about this is trad? Is it the gender roles that she's talking about? Because when we talk about being in a traditional feminine role or a traditional masculine role, oftentimes it's looked at really superficially. So the way she is portraying this is very much like she's a girly girl, right? But that does not make a person traditionally feminine. If you have a masculine energy about you, she's talking against kind of like boss babes or whatever. And I think that's what this is. It's this pendulum shift to the other side from the whole boss babe feminist era that we're in. But it's all superficial. And in a sense, she is still fulfilling that more masculine boss babe role because she is online promoting this lifestyle, okay, promoting herself. She's making money off of it. And she started a whole movement. So she's a leader in a way. So she has actually a lot of different masculine traits as well. And I would not call this traditionally feminine wifehood. I think traditional wives would be more discreet and quiet about their lifestyle. In the interview, she talks about women in the 1950s using dishwashers or washing machines or whatever. We're really going to keep talking about tradition. How far back are we going? Are we going to go back 50 years? Are we going to go back 100 years? Let's go back to Bible times if you really want to be traditional. What this is, at the end of the day, is just a way to gain male attention while still being married and getting praised for it. Because that's exactly what she's getting. She is getting a lot of attention for this, a lot of praise from men. They're just a different brand of men. You have your OnlyFans girls over here, and then you have your like trad wife movement over here, where they may be opposite of one another, but they're doing the exact same thing. They're still exploiting men and they're getting paid for it. She's getting views and likes and these interviews and making these appearances and whatnot, making money off of it, which, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I hope I can make money off of this someday. Why not? You know, we would all like to have an income, but it's the hypocrisy. If you're going to promote yourself as a trad wife, be traditional. Don't be another boss babe with this fake label of trad wife on it. That's kind of my take on it, guys. She seems like a lovely person, absolutely a beautiful girl. And she's very smart to be starting this movement when she does. I think it was the perfect timing. If you go out in the real world, if you talk to people, you know, there is no one way to be a wife. And if you're not a trad wife, or if you don't fall into kind of like the SD Williams sort of camp over here, if you're not like that, that does not make you over here like a crazy feminist boss babe who wears the pants in their marriage. The most important thing is that you have an agreement with your spouse about what you're doing in your marriage and that you're making it work for you. That's how a marriage will last, is if you're both on the same page. So I hope you guys like this video. Comment down below what you think about this whole movement, what you think about the whole trad wife thing, and share this video and subscribe to No Pilled, and I will see you guys in the next one.